Hello, Phantom fans. My name is Sam Olmstead. His name is Justin Irwin. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. The Phantoms took a loss against Chicago in their only game this past weekend and are now preparing to travel to upstate New York for 2 games with the reeling Green Bay Gamblers in the inaugural USHL American Cup. In this episode, we'll recap and preview those games, as well as hear post-game comments from head coach Brad Patterson. You'll also hear from New Hampshire native and Phantoms goaltender Kyle Chauvette. And there will be a mention or two about a certain Phase 1 draft pick who made his USHL debut on Friday. So now on to my co-host who puts the sigh in sciatica. How you holding up, old man?
At least I haven't had to lay down too much so far yet. And I guess if I have to lean back for a few, you can edit out all the groaning as I get back up.
No, I'll take all the noises and the groaning. I'll put them all together in one of those like ASMR videos that we'll release afterwards, kind of a bonus track to this episode. With all the other goofy noises you make while recording, yeah. So we'll kick off this show with some news and notes, which like last week mostly has to do with player commitments. But right off the bat, this is being recorded on Monday night, the 29th. About a couple hours ago, 2-3 hours ago, former Phantom Brett Murray picked up his first NHL goal with the Buffalo Sabres. They were playing the Seattle Kraken. So congratulations to Brett Murray. We saw him in a couple games at the end of last year, Buffalo playing Pittsburgh. Apparently called up recently. I believe the last I looked, he was still in the AHL. Apparently called up again here recently. Picked up his first NHL goal tonight. So congratulations to former Phantom Brett Murray.
Yeah, typical Brett Murray goal, just going to the crease, getting a stick down, using his size. Congratulations, man.
So a few more commitments to bring up from a few players. Grant Porter, who will be next week's interview, has committed to Providence College. This announcement came out the morning of the game on Friday, so I actually got to talk to him that night. And that news was still pretty fresh. But yeah, Grant Porter has committed to Providence College. Dylan Wegner, who is currently with the Maryland Black Bears, he has come up to play 3 affiliate games with the Phantoms this season. He committed to Michigan State. And Phantoms affiliate goaltender Logan Fowler, who we haven't seen with the Phantoms. We saw him in, I believe we saw him in tryout camp.
It's hard to tell without rosters.
But we knew he was there. We got to see him in tryout camp. Having a heck of a season with the Selects Academy AAA U18 down in Florida. I tweeted out about him earlier in the week. Logan Fowler, he committed to Clarkson University. So congratulations to him. Okay, so that looks like everything for now. So let's move on to Friday night and the Chicago Steel returning to the Covelli Center. So yeah, like I said on Friday, was the only Phantoms game this past weekend. Black Friday game versus the Chicago Steel. This game, Chicago pretty much ran away with it 8-4. Now, granted, you get doubled up like that by Chicago, you would have a bad feeling coming out of it. I think all in all, except for special teams, which we'll get into, I think we actually pretty evenly matched up with them. It was the special teams in the end that killed us, but there wasn't a ton I was disappointed about coming out of this game.
No, I mean, when you consider our first meeting was, a 5-1 victory. So we've played them pretty even or better most of the time we've played them. So obviously a few things to work on, which we'll get into. But overall, if you're competing like that against the top team in the USHL, you're doing okay, I guess.
So I'll point out before we get into the recap here, the Phantoms started Owen Bartoskevich in net. That'll kind of factor in here in a little bit. So the first period, about 6 minutes in, Chicago goes up 1-0 with a goal by Joe Miller. That was followed up by a pair of power play goals by Jake Livanovich and Jaden Perron. That put Chicago up 3-0. And then just a little bit of hockey magic, little bit of Disney magic coming early to the Covelli Center. Phantoms affiliate William Whitelaw. He was the Phantoms Phase 1, basically first overall pick in Phase 1. Spending the season with Shattuck St. Mary. They were able to get him down this week with their Thanksgiving break. He picks up his first goal of the season. this whole thing started out with Steven Sardarian, some great stick work in the defensive zone, was able to get possession of the puck, pushed it up to Ryan Alexander, who basically danced around two defenders in the neutral zone. And by the time he hit the blue line, had created a 2-on-1 break. And then just Saucer, just a beautiful pass across the slot to Whitelaw, buried it. So his first goal, his first USHL goal on his first USHL shot. So yeah, that was kind of an incredible thing. It's, the bench went nuts. The crowd went nuts. We went nuts. I'll mention this again later. Ryan Alexander went nuts. It was, it's, a lot of excitement for this kid, a lot of anticipation for this kid. And just, right off the bat, he delivered.
Yeah, well, when you wish upon a star, for corny Disney references, we've been waiting to get this player into the lineup. And it happened. Yeah, immediately he had an impact. I mean, even before he scored the goal, we were noticing, he's going to the open areas. He's making himself available. He's putting himself in the right spot to contribute. And pretty much every shift. So we'll go into, I think, more into his development in a little bit. But yeah, just overall impressive.
Okay, so finishing out the first period, Phantoms go to the locker room down 3-1, but they have a little bit of momentum on their side. Did not really carry over to the second so much. Up and down period in the second. Well, actually, more accurately, a down, up, down second period. Starts out, Chicago goes up 4-1 on their third power play goal of the game. That was scored by Sam Lipkin. And then Youngstown gets a pair of power play goals. Jaden Grant, his 9th of the season, and Morgan Winters, his 3rd of the season. That cut the deficit down. Phantoms were trailing 4-3. And then things started going a little sideways. With about 1:48 left in the period, Chicago goes up 5-3 on Joe Miller's second goal of the game. Now, at this point, I watched Patterson walk down the bench and sort of motion towards Kyle Chauvette, but didn't swap them out, which I pointed out. And then you said, well, there's only 1:48 left. They'll probably just telling them, get ready. They'll probably, swap them out to start the third. 42 seconds later, Luke Lewandowski put Chicago up 6-3, and out went Bardo and in came Kyle to finish the end of the second period. So a little bit of the goalie jinx there on your part. So thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, well, we'll point out we were pretty much asking for Chauvette to be put in well before that point. I'm not really sure why it took so long. This is something we've mentioned a few times. It seems Patterson is reluctant to make the goalie change sometimes. I would have liked to have seen it a little sooner.
Okay, so period ends. Chicago's up 6-3. Going into the third period, Winter Wallace picks up his 2nd of the season, again cutting the deficit down to 2 goals. Phantoms trailed 6-4. And then with Chicago's Andon Sorbonne, I'm going to say. Yeah, he was in the box 2 minutes for hooking. So during that power play for the Phantoms, Anna Fantilli picked up a shorthanded goal, followed 60 seconds later by Sam Lipkin's 2nd of the game. Again, a shorty. That made it 8-4, and that's how the game ended. Yeah, so special teams, definitely the story in this game. Youngstown 2 for 6 on the power play, only 1 for 4 on the penalty kill. Shots in the game, Youngstown led this 41-21, which once again goes to prove the hockey gods can be a cruel mistress. The Phantoms double Chicago up on shots, and Chicago doubles Youngstown up on goals. And sometimes that's just the way it works. Owen Bartoskevich only stopped 4 of 10 shots. He was pulled with 1:06 left in the second period. Kyle Chauvette stopped 9 of 11 in relief. The 2 goals he allowed were the shorthanded goals where he was essentially just left out to dry on both of those. When you ask why did the Phantoms lose this game, it's a very simple answer. They lost by 4. They lost by 4 goals. They gave up 3 power play and 2 shorthanded. There's your margin of victory right there. There's the difference between a win and a loss.
Yeah, obviously you want to get, we had chances on the power play. You want to get something going. Yeah, we did get a couple power play goals. We are doing a lot better than previous seasons on the power play. But then you give up 2 shorthanded goals and you erase all that. So, and then you give up a few power play goals of your own, and 8-4, it could have been worse.
Of course, it doesn't help when the game's about to start. The officials skate out onto the ice, and you see the last name Esposito on the back of the referee's jersey. And I will say this before I say anything else. I have seen fans of most of the other teams in the USHL say the same things about Robert Esposito that I'm going to say. So it's not just he's got it in for Youngstown. There's a pattern just with his officiating in general. It is severely, severely inconsistent.
Yeah, I think he makes decisions before the game and that he sticks with it regardless of how the game actually goes.
We see one point in the second period. It was Winter Wallace went off 2 minutes for slashing, although to be fair, it was high sticking. Esposito was behind the play. He called it slashing. We saw it very clearly. It was actually high sticking, but that's neither here nor there. Later on in the second period, we had Winter Wallace basically right in front of us on the glass. I can't remember exactly who. A Chicago player came up from behind him, put him in a headlock, and then just pulled him down backwards while there was a scrum for the puck behind the net. Wallace stands up immediately because Esposito's right there. He's 10 feet away watching the whole thing. Wallace stood up, turned around, looked at Esposito, and you can see Esposito mouth the words to him, "Don't talk to me."
Yeah.
And then skated away as the play was moving up ice. And it's just, and not only calls against Youngstown, we saw things being called on Youngstown that wasn't being called against Chicago and vice versa. I mean, this isn't, he screwed the Phantoms. He was way more involved in this game overall than he needed to be. It went both ways, but it's, and I've seen a lot of other people besides me say that he's by far probably one of the worst referees in the USHL and most definitely the most inconsistent.
Yeah. Inconsistent was the word I was about to use. I mean, I saw in the beginning of the game, there was a lot of clutch and grab that just wasn't even called. It was, kind of 90s hockey. But then, yeah, he started picking players, I think. And obviously, Winter Wallace is one of those guys who he gets singled out. But yeah, when you see him get suplexed and the ref doesn't want to hear anything about it, I mean, I don't know what he saw. I can't describe it.
Well, that's what Wallace only had the one penalty in the game, but again, we saw the tackle. Nothing was called. There was another point. He caught a stick up in the face, right in front of Esposito. Nothing was called there. Yeah, it's again just when you see him skate out on the ice, you know it's going to be a long night. When you see that he's the referee that night, you know it's going to be a long night. So, I mean, a lot of what, I hate to say it, but a lot of what happened in this game, happened to Youngstown that was called and wasn't called, and happened to Chicago that was called and wasn't called. I dare to say we expected from the beginning.
Yeah, we knew the referee was going to be a factor somehow.
So, moving on from that, yeah, William Whitelaw, if you're going to make a debut at the Cavelli Center, he picked the right way to do it. As far as I'm fairly certain in saying that all of the affiliate games that were played last season, there were no goals from the affiliate players. I think you have to go back to sometime the season before. I can't say for sure, but I almost am certain there were none last year. So, right away, this was the first affiliate goal we have seen in quite some time. But like you mentioned, that wasn't all we saw from him. He was listed on the line chart as a winger, but yet, a couple points we saw him taking faceoffs, not only taking faceoffs, but winning those faceoffs. By virtue of being on the ice on a 4-on-4 and a penalty expiring, he was on the penalty kill for a little while. I think this was just a case of Brad knew he had him for this one game, not entirely sure when he'll be back again, with his, commitments and everything with Shattuck St. Mary this season. It really felt like Brad just kind of put him out there and was just kind of kicking the tires on him to see what he had. And you saw him in a lot of different scenarios. And honestly, I didn't really see him fail in any of them.
No. He looked more comfortable, I think, out on the ice than any player in their affiliate debut that I've seen in quite a while. He was, I think, an impact every time he was on the ice. And I think Chicago spent some energy trying to contain him. So, again, we are just really looking forward to seeing what he can do in the future.
Okay, so after the game, Coach Brad Patterson had talked about William Whitelaw and how he felt watching him during the game, and these were his comments.
I thought he was tremendous. You look at all the affiliates that have come in over years past, dating back to, I don't know what the first one would have been, but as far as having an impact on the game, goes beyond him scoring a goal, which that's a huge credit to him, scoring a goal in his first game, but just all around. He hounded pucks. He was physical. He was making good plays through neutral ice. He was a threat on the attack. He was solid defensively, like all those sort of things. And to say that he does it after 2 or 3 practices, it's a credit to him. And it's obviously an indication on what we thought of him prior to the draft with where we selected him. But I'm super excited to see him back here in the future.
And there you go. That was a recap of the game with Chicago on Friday. So let's move on to 4 points. As always, 4 points is where we break down the previous weekend into 4 categories: what we liked, what we didn't like, favorite moment, and weekend MVP. By virtue of a rousing but quick game of Rochambeau, I will be going first.
Still a little sore.
Rochambeau, South Park, look it up. As far as this game, what I liked, obviously the special teams were horrid. The 5-on-5 play, I think, was really a highlight for the Phantoms in this game. They were able to match up with Chicago. We know that Chicago is just as dangerous 5-on-5 as they are on the power play, but I actually think we matched up fairly well with them 5-on-5. If people could have stayed out of the penalty box, I think this might have been a closer game than what it was. From what I was able to see, what I was able to discern, I think even strength, I was really happy with how Youngstown, and this is one of those things where we see good even strength play and the special teams kind of are lackluster or vice versa. But yeah, this was one of those games where I think the 5-on-5, the even strength really shone through for the Phantoms.
Yeah, definitely have to agree. That was the only reason why this game was even close. What I liked was shots on goal. Obviously, maybe we wanted to get better quality shots or more traffic or just more pressure in general, but we put 41 shots on goal, and we're currently, I think, 4th in the league in shots on goal overall. Not something we've excelled in the past seasons, and I know it doesn't always mean you play better when you get more shots on goal, but I'd rather see us get them than pass on opportunities. So that was one positive.
You saw a lot of kind of one and dones, just kind of get into the zone, throw it on goal, and the puck's going the other way. We saw a few scrums in the crease, a lot of crease pressure. Chicago had Christian Manns making his USHL debut, and it was fairly obvious whenever you had those scrums around the net, he got happy feet. He was kind of flopping around, and that was something to me. If the Phantoms could have kept that pressure on, that's something they could have taken advantage of. I just think that's something they didn't take advantage of.
No, and I think that kind of went hand in hand with us taking penalties.
Yeah. So what I didn't like was this game starting Owen Bartoskevich over Kyle Chauvette. This isn't a knock on Owen Bartoskevich. I mean, obviously, it's his first USHL season. You're going to have those growing pains. I understand the need for ice time. Just with this game, being the only game of the weekend, it's, the number 1 team in the league coming in, but it's a team that we know we can match up with. Kyle Chauvette's riding a hot streak right now. I think I would have rather seen Kyle Chauvette start this game. I don't know the reasoning behind it. If they, maybe they're planning on playing Chauvette both games this coming weekend. So they wanted, tried to give him the weekend off. Yeah, but just you have Bartoskevich, struggling a little bit. I don't think throwing him out there against Chicago was the way to kind of rectify that. And again, it's not a knock on Owen. It's, we see it year after year with, new goaltenders come in, getting their first USHL action. It's almost abnormal if they play well in their first season in the USHL, but yeah, for this game, just based on recent history, I would have liked to have seen Kyle Chauvette in there.
Yeah, or at least him come in relief a little bit sooner. I mean, it's not good for Bardo. It's not good for the team to leave him in a situation like that. What I didn't like, and, we both saw this, I think a little bit of our problem with, maybe not getting as good quality chances and pressure was we didn't compete sometimes for 50-50 pucks, especially, the defense pinching in. At one point, what I like to call the 90-10. I mean, yeah, I know a guy can blow a tire, but I won't name any names. One of our defensemen could have easily kept the puck in the zone, kept pressure on, got us maybe another chance, maybe even put it on goal. But as soon as that puck went loose, he starts skating back instead of, trying to keep the play alive. And he clearly would have made it before the Chicago player. So maybe a little bit more aggression, especially on defense.
And when that play happened, you even said during the, while that was going on, that wasn't a 50-50 puck. That was a 90-10 puck. He was one stride away. The defender was like 4 strides away, and he backed off.
Yeah, I mean, I know you could blow a tire or, but you're down. You need to produce some offense. That puck was kind of there on a platter. So I sure Brad Patterson, picks that up. I'm sure it's on tape. I'm sure that will be addressed. Well, I'm hopeful. But yeah, I mean, I thought that was one thing we were doing right this year was we were being a little bit more aggressive on those 50-50 or better, pucks. And this game, that wasn't the only time, but, yeah, there were some pretty obvious ones there.
Okay, so my favorite moment, that would be in part of the Whitelaw goal. That was Ryan Alexander. He made the pass over to Whitelaw. Whitelaw buried it, but it seemed to be like there was a little bit of a delay. The puck goes in the back of the net. It took it maybe about a half a second beat before the goal light came on. There was a little bit of a delay there, and crowd reaction and everything else. So Alexander made the pass, and you saw him start to make a turn to come back around, maybe back towards the net. So I don't think he realized the goal went in. The puck had gone in. So when he turned around, he saw everybody celebrating, saw Whitelaw going towards the boards with his arms up. And it actually looked like he jumped off his skates to make the turn, to whip right around and basically almost skate through William Whitelaw into the boards, to celebrate with him. And then, as the line formed to go by the bench, you saw, Ryan Alexander jump out, grab the puck from the referee, to make sure, he had that first one. I mean, it was fun to watch live. And then, if you go to, the Phantoms YouTube page, the game highlights and everything, you can see all of that in the highlight video.
Or maybe if you're watching this on YouTube now.
Oh, you're going to put it on YouTube now?
Well, I was going to put it in the episode.
Oh, okay. So you've been watching it this whole time. What do I... But yeah, you like to see that, this kid, he came in, he was only in for 2 or 3 practices, this past week and then played in this game, and to see that amount of excitement from the team, just kind of makes you chomp at the bit that much more, waiting to where he's in Youngstown full time.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of the delay there was, I think people were just surprised. Is it really that easy for him?
Yeah,
but it is.
And actually, I will bring this up. I meant to bring it up earlier and then just completely bypassed it. But yeah, William Whitelaw has been playing at Shattuck St. Mary this season. So far in 25 games, and this is the prep team. He is 16 years old. He is playing on the prep team. So far in 25 games this season with Shattuck St. Mary, 21 goals, 27 assists, 48 points.
Yikes. Okay.
And he's not playing on the AAA squad. He's playing on the prep team.
Okay. Yeah, which, brings me to the question, never mind. I guess my favorite moment, I'm going to have to kind of come up with something different than the Whitelaw goal. Morgan Winters. His goal, 4-3. Phantoms are in it. We're alive at that time. I just thought, great energy. The team was really, kind of pushing it back at that point. I think, Coach Patterson alluded somewhat to that. Then, the wheels fell off the bus, but that moment you kind of felt good and hopeful. And
no, I mean, I know I picked the low-hanging fruit here, but you lost at Rochambeau, so that'll teach you for letting me go first. But so again, going with the low-hanging fruit, my weekend MVP, I'm giving it to William Whitelaw. We've already talked about everything. I will just simply say that, this was his debut in the USHL. This was going up against, the best USHL team over the past few seasons. And when it was all said and done, the moment wasn't too big for him, and he delivered.
Yeah. Obviously, we're kind of gushing over him, but right there in a nutshell, he stepped up and, he delivered. So, fortunately for me, my MVP pick, it wasn't too hard to find an alternative. Trey Taylor, he picked up 3 assists and was actually a +1 in a 8-4 game. So obviously he wasn't part of the problem. He's played great all year, both defensively and chipping in on the offense. Really a spectacular game.
And he just keeps getting better too.
Yeah.
It's not just he's playing at a high level. He's getting better as the season goes on. And right now, the defensive pairing of him and TJ Schweitgart, honestly, I would put those two up against any other defensive pairing in this league right now.
Yes, I totally agree. And obviously, if we could clone those two, I'm going to kind of go out on a limb. And if we get him back next year, he might be a team captain.
Okay, so that was 4 points, and the streak ended there after 3 straight weeks of one of us naming him the weekend MVP. Kyle Chauvette, the streak is broken. But worry not, because after the game on Friday, I got the chance to talk with Kyle Chauvette. I was going back and looking because I couldn't remember if he was a trade or he was drafted. I had to go back and look it up. Turns out neither. He was essentially a camp invite last summer. That was how Kyle Chauvette came to the Phantoms. He split his playing time last year with Matthias Scholl and Colin Purcell. And this year has firmly planted himself as the number 1 netminder, which is something that we haven't had clearly defined in the past few seasons.
No, and I mean, I think, it goes back to guys named Ivan who just kind of showed up, and it's like, hey, you're the guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, Chauvette took a little bit more time to develop, but yeah, it is nice to see a clear definition, and he's just at a level we haven't seen in the past few seasons.
Well, lucky for you, in this interview, he will talk about his development, so we'll get some answers there. But no, currently on the season, 7 wins, 3 losses, 1 shootout loss, a 2.82 goals against average, and a 912 save percentage. So without further ado, this is my conversation with Kyle Chauvette. Okay, we are in the back area of the Cavelli Center. I am here with Phantoms goaltender Kyle Chauvette. So Kyle, last season you were splitting time with 2 other goalies, and everyone involved, it was a rough season overall with COVID and then just the schedule being bounced all over the place. This year, your game has risen to just a whole new level. In your view, what's the biggest difference for you from last year to this year?
Yeah, obviously I think in any league as you go up like higher and higher in each level, usually the second year is where you get more comfortable. Obviously the first year there's going to be some adversity. I made the jump from prep school to the USHL, so It was a pretty big jump, but I think the second year I've got more used to the speed of things. I think my play reading's been better overall, and I think that's been a huge difference because this league, guys can zip the puck around, so play reading is definitely huge.
Okay, so this question It's from an 8-year-old. His name is Teddy. He's actually a goalie with the Youth Phantoms. He wanted me to ask you, how old were you when you started playing goal?
Yeah, I'd say I was probably about 5 or 6 when I first strapped on the pads. I mean, I've been skating since I was probably about 3 years old, but, I put on the pads at age 5. I was like the first one to kind of jump to the opportunity and ended up loving it.
Okay, yeah. So it wasn't like you were the only one the pads fit, or sometimes you hear those stories with goalies. Yeah. I was the only one that fit the pads. So.
No, I just love stopping pucks for some reason when I was young, but it just stuck.
You usually ask everybody at the end, who do you not want to take a punch from? Everybody said the same one. There's been no variety in the answers, so we're going to pass that. Okay, so Thanksgiving was yesterday. You go to Thanksgiving dinner, you see the meal, you see the spread. What are you going to first? What's your go-to side dish?
Oh, I'd say green bean casserole. I love good green bean casserole. I think that's my favorite side dish.
You are definitely in the minority on that one.
Yeah, I know. I saw a post on that on Instagram the other day, and a lot of people don't like green bean casserole, but I love it.
Well, that's why people invite you, so you'll be the one to eat it. They don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
I just wanted to bring up a couple things before I let you go. Right now, we have a little bit of a streak going. A couple weeks ago, we interviewed Jaden, we interviewed Ryan. They both scored that next Friday night. You're going up to Rochester, 2 games with Green Bay. So if you could get a goal next weekend, that would really help us out, keep that streak alive. I mean, I'll accept the shutout, but if you could get a goal. Have you scored a goal yet?
I haven't scored a goal. No, but I'm not opposed to trying it. If the opportunity is there, I'd go for it.
I mean, is it something you might be looking to do, like end of a game empty net, or is it just kind of if the opportunity presents itself?
Yeah, I'd say we have to be up by 2 at least. I'd say for me to go for it, because if I miss, then that's an icing and it's a 1-goal game. But yeah, if it's a 2-goal lead and the opportunity presents itself, I'd probably go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to end this out, we've picked up some listeners around the Manchester, New Hampshire area. I guess Goffstown and Hooksett around that area.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything to anybody that you might know lives in that area, since they seem to be listening in here?
Yeah. Like just about the league or anything? Or?
No, anything you want to say to them. I have a fair idea who it is, but...
Oh, my parents?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, my parents for sure. No, I'm so grateful for them. They're awesome. I mean, they were at the game tonight. They go to a ton of games. They make the trips out to... they've been out to USA once. But yeah, they're just so supportive. And, throughout the whole way, it was definitely a lot of money as a goalie growing up. So
Rochester will actually be a pretty short trip for them compared to some of these other ones.
Yeah, they're coming out to Rochester. So
okay, all right. Yeah. Well, Kyle, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Good luck next weekend.
Thank you.
All right. And there it is. A big thanks to Kyle for taking a few minutes to chat with us. There's always a bit of trepidation when you go and talk to these guys after a rough loss, but I will say so far, they're very candid. They're very happy to talk. Next week's episode will feature an interview with Phantoms forward, and as it turns out, a fan and avid listener of our show, Grant Porter. So make sure you tune in next week for that. So we have now reached that point of the show. The Phantoms and Justin are traveling to Rochester, New York for the inaugural USHL American Cup, with 2 games against the Green Bay Gamblers on the docket. So let's dive in and break that down. So yeah, like I said, this is the first ever, the inaugural USHL American Cup. This will be taking place at Bill Gray's Regional Iceplex in Rochester, New York. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is a 3-day event. I believe it's mostly a youth showcase, but kind of the names on the marquee, the featured matchups on Friday and Saturday night will be 2 USHL regular season games featuring Youngstown and Green Bay.
Yeah. Bill Gray's Regional Iceplex is a pretty big Rochester market youth arena. They have a lot of youth activities. They also are pretty famous for Zambonis catching on fire on the ice. You can Google that. So yeah, it's the USHL and a few other parties are trying to showcase the talent to scouts and various markets, obviously. I'm not exactly familiar with, the Rochester area, so I can't really tell you the scene there. But I'm going to try to find out.
I guess by the looks of it, there's going to be a pretty decent Buffalo Sabres contingent there, as the Phantom's own Steven Sardarian is a Buffalo Sabres draft pick. So it looks like by some of the talk on Twitter, there's going to be a decent amount of people there, either Buffalo fans or people within the organization, keeping an eye on him this weekend. Once again, the opponent, the Green Bay Gamblers. The last meeting, just a couple weeks ago, November 20th, that was a 7-2 win for Youngstown. The Gamblers last weekend had 3 games. The game the day before Thanksgiving, that was a 7-4 loss to Dubuque. And then on Friday and Saturday, they played the returning Team USA U17s. On Friday, they won, believe it or not, 5-2. That snapped a 7-game losing streak for them. And then on Saturday night, they lost 5-2 to the under-17s. And I know Green Bay is having a rough season, but the U17 so far in USHL play has had a historically bad start to the season. So I guess, 1 step forward, 2 steps back last weekend.
Yeah, I'm glad that Green Bay got their 1 win out of the way, this past weekend, so we don't have to worry about that, going forward. Everybody's due a win once in a while. They got theirs, so yeah, and the U17s are we say this all the time, they're obviously not as good as, previous years, but it's pretty obvious, and I've been holding my tongue this whole time, but I got to ask, what didn't William Whitelaw have to be accepted as a U17?
Short answer, the correct last name. If his last name was Kachuk or Samuelson or Francis or anything like that, probably would have had a much better shot than he did.
Yeah, or if he wasn't in the prep program, like some people will mention later, theorize. But yeah, it just begs the question, what are they doing in Plymouth?
Okay, so overall, Green Bay coming into this weekend have lost 8 of their last 9 games. The Phantoms in their past 10 games, 6-3, 0-1. Yeah, overall, Green Bay on the season, 6 wins, 10 losses, and 1 shootout loss. That is good for 13 points and 7th in the Eastern Conference. Youngstown coming in with 8 wins, 8 losses, and 2 shootout losses. That works out to 18 points and 5th place in the Eastern Conference. Again, they are tied for 4th with Cedar Rapids in points, but again, that pesky point percentage they're going by this season has them in 5th behind Cedar Rapids right now. Green Bay in 17 games this season are averaging 2.94 goals per game. They are giving up 4.18 goals per game. Currently, they are sitting at a negative 21 goal differential. Youngstown in 18 games, split right down the middle, 3.39 goals for and 3.39 goals against. Their goal differential is even right now.
We're playing 500 hockey, and yeah.
Yeah, on the season, 61 goals for, 61 goals against.
Yeah, I think we're kind of on an upward trend. Obviously, Green Bay is not.
So as far as special teams, Green Bay on the power play, 14.1%. That is last in the Eastern Conference. 76.6% on the penalty kill, a little bit better for them. That puts them at 4th in the East. Youngstown, and it's been a while since we've been able to say this, their power play coming in at 27.1%. Not only is that 1st in the Eastern Conference, it is 1st in the entire USHL. It's been a long time since we've been able to say that. Save for 1 bad power play on Friday. Yeah.
1 really bad power play. Yeah. But we digress.
Yeah, but on the penalty kill, Phantoms at 71.2%. That is 6th in the Eastern Conference. You would hear those and you would think, well, at least the power play, and you would think, well, why not? Why does that not translating more as far as wins and losses? That is because pretty much everything works out in a wash. The Phantoms have scored 19 power play goals this season. On the penalty kill, they have given up 19 goals. So right there, one washes out the other. And then you look at shorthanded goals. They have scored 3 shorthanded goals on the season. They have now given up 5. So they were a -2 as far as shorthanded goals. So when you ask why is the power play not translating in more wins, that's why.
Yeah, the shorthanded thing is something I've brought up a couple of times between us. To me, shorthanded goals are kind of an indicator. You give those up and things go south real quick. We got to get back to kind of improving the penalty kill. The power play, I have no words. I'm as surprised as you are.
We haven't seen numbers like that since we had, Brett Murray parked in front of the net, parked behind the net on the power play. It's been that long since we've seen power play numbers like that. Okay, so the game on Friday, that will be a 7:30 puck drop, little different time than you would normally see. That is, of course, Eastern Standard Time for around here. The game on Friday, the Phantoms will be designated as the home team. Now, the game on Saturday, also a 7:30 puck drop. In that game, the Phantoms will be designated the away team. These games will be available on Hockey TV and Western Reserve Radio. And I know what you're thinking. Well, that seems a little odd. These are away games, and they're going to be on Western Reserve Radio. Well, that is because our great and wonderful friend of the show, Matt Lipsack, will be traveling up with the team. He will be calling those games. So we will not have to be forced to either watch the game on mute or listen to the vocal stylings of Kreinmeyer, whatever his name is, up in Green Bay. That in itself, I think, is a win for everybody.
Where everything is, a crime against the gamblers.
Yes. War crimes, genocide, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that is all the time we have for this show. Make sure to tune in next week as we recap just how the American Cup ended up for the Phantoms, as well as look ahead to a 3-game weekend in Dubuque. This was the series that was supposed to take place at the Cavelli Center, but as it turns out, there's a big difference between Disney money and USHL money.
Yeah. I guess Aladdin's lamp there.
Yeah. Oh, get out of my arena. Oh. Yeah, also, as I mentioned, how do you come back from that? Also, as I mentioned, there will be an interview with Grant Porter. Now, we're sitting on some breaking news as far as the show is concerned, but we're still not at a point to announce it yet, but hopefully in the next week we will be able to. But there is some breaking news that we can announce, and it has been confirmed. Our show a couple weeks from now will mark the return of Phantoms team president Andrew Goldman, but this will not be an interview like we've done a few times before. He will be the third co-host for this episode. We did this with Matt Lipsack last season, and it went really well, so I'm really looking forward to this. I'm also looking forward to him making me look like an idiot with his hockey knowledge, because every time I start to think I know something, I talk to him for 5 seconds, and I just feel really bad about myself afterwards. The guy knows his stuff inside and out, so it's going to be a fun one to listen to.
It will be informative, for sure.
Yeah. Just try to see how many times we can get him to say, "I can't answer that." We may have to do an over-under on that.
I could pop up a counter.
By virtue of league mandate, I can't answer that.
What we will call the Hardy rule.
Yes. So as always, the Dump and Chase podcast is brought to you by hockeyfan.com. And don't forget to check out the website of our syndication partner, ohiohockeydigest.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Be sure to follow us there if you haven't already. And the show can be found on YouTube as well as wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. All of those links can be found in our Linktree page that is in the description. So thank you everyone for listening along. I hope your Thanksgiving was incredible. And I hope your Black Friday shopping was plentiful and that you didn't get punched in the face reaching for a $5 toaster. So for Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead. We will talk to you all next week. Bye now.